This one's coming in and it's coming in fast and muddled. So I better get it out so I can start untangling it before it gets a bigger mess. I already don't know where to jump off because it's so muddled. I guess it was like the idea of like, do you ever wonder where it all starts? Like where it deviated, even in your own line, like even in your own family. Like my father always loved to play cards, and I always loved to play cards. And I'm interested in listening to tarot readers, and I love stories. And my father was a great storyteller and a great gift to gab, and he did speak from his heart, but he also had a lot of fear, so there was a lot of resistance there, you know? And, we all struggle with things. And my aunts were very, like my father became very religious, but I thought, you know what? I wonder if my father became very religious because he married my mother, who was an 100% Irish, very Catholic family. And even though I believe my father did go to Catholic school, although I think everybody ended up going to public at some point, only my Aunt Judy opted to stay in Catholic school. But my grandmother had instilled in them that they do not need to go to a human, a man, a priest, to speak to God. That is insane. That is insane. You have direct access. So as you can hear, I'm very much in agreement with my grandmother. And yet my father was very, very religious. And so this does beg the question, where did that enter? Was it him seeking the approval of my mother, who came from a very Catholic background, so seeking her approval and our family's approval? And ultimately, she didn't grow up in what we would call a happy home. The stories I could tell you are only that, stories, right? I didn't grow up with her, so they're passed down. So who knows how distorted they are. And yet I was able to witness some of the dynamics and the heaviness and the fog and the sadness that lived there, just from visiting my grandparents, and many stories I could tell you from that. And so like all this, twisting and contorting and whatnot is what happens throughout the family lines, and why people are doing what they're doing or saying what they're saying. That was the other thing that was coming through about like, parents tell us, things to protect us, but it's not always truth, right? Say a parent has a bad interaction physically, right, with the opposite sex. Well, then they're going to, it's either paint, like say a woman gets raped. She's going to either paint all men as bad, so then her children are scared of men, or she's going to tell them to, or they're not, or maybe lie and say they're not attractive so that they stay away. But it's like, oh, but you're doing so much damage there because you had that experience. You had lessons to learn. You had pain in you. You pass that pain down. You think you're being nice, right? They think, oh my God, the same thing will happen to them that happened to me, so I need to protect them. Nope, not true. There's another lie. Yet we do this. We do this as humans, as parents, as family members. And so this is, when you hear me talk about a lot of times, intention, right? Because it's always going to come back to you. It's going to come back to you. It's always coming back to you. So when Judgment Day comes, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. What were your intentions? And so you're still going to get punished for doing essentially an ill deed, telling a lie. But if the truest heart intention was pure, it's almost like the smack isn't as firm or forceful. And you still get a smack, and you still have to learn that lesson, and you still have to make the changes. Otherwise, you're going to continue to get smacked, and then it actually will become forceful because you knew better and didn't do better. So it's that kind of thing, that kind of, it's like once you're aware, you got to fucking step up. And so what this had me trolling on was, I find it interesting how I've always been more spiritual. I've never resonated with the Catholic teachings or how it was taught to me, the way it was taught to me, and the fear-based and having to have a middleman and having a human and the imagery. And there was just so much fear and wrongness in my body and my mind whenever I was around it. It just felt thick and dark and bad and wrong. And yet there was also good peering through it. There was still truth woven into it. And, it's always based on our own lenses and whatnot. And like I said, I also had I didn't want to go to church. Who the fuck wants to go to church, especially as a kid? You want to run around and play. You don't want to have to sit, stand, kneel, say this, do this, go here, go there. What? What are we in the fucking army? No, leave me alone. Right? And it's like, I'm not listening anyway. You think you're, but they are. They creates monsters. It's training. Get in line, kids. You're getting trained. You're getting brainwashed. It seeps in. Whether you're listening or not, you're forced to go. You're being forced fed. And again, I don't think it's looked at that way, and it might not be intended that way, so forgive me, but I'm just telling you my experience and how I see it and feel it. And so, yeah, it was always nice when my aunts were like, you don't have to go to fucking church, right? Because we would go visit them on the weekends, and my parents would be like, you have to make sure that you take the girls to church. And I don't know about my sister because she's very religious. So she probably struggled with the fact of being disobedient more than anything. But I was like, I don't want to fucking go. And I didn't feel bad about it. I loved it. What I didn't like is if we had to lie. I don't know if we ever had to lie or like they had to lie for. I don't know. I don't know how that all went down. I don't recall that part. Maybe I'm conveniently blocking that out. But yeah, no, I never had any interest in that. And I'm just recalling another incident, actually. I have several incidences that actually weren't that, but okay. Yeah, the thumb and the control. Oh my God. And yet I always resonated with that. Like, yeah, why would I have to go to church to talk to God? Like, that is weird, right? Like, it's such a weird concept. It's like, what? But again, we've talked about this where it's like, imagine being so confused as a child when you're talking directly to God and you're totally connected. And everybody keeps telling you, you have to talk to them to talk to God. And it's like, but I'm talking to you right now. What are they talking about? It's so confusing, right? Like it is so fucking confusing. And you've heard me talk about this where I was like, oh, well then am I not talking to God? Is this a different word? Am I using the wrong word? Right? Like it became so confusing for me. It got me so tangled. And so then I really didn't like the word God for the longest time because I was like, oh, well, your God's actually Satan, but you're calling Satan God. I'm so confused, right? It's like, oh my God. And then you get steeped in it. I was in 12 years of Catholic school. And anyway, my whole point of this was they were originally showing me cards and how I have a few oracle decks, but I never use them. And I remembered them this morning. And I thought, oh my God, let me go get them. Let me go, open up a box and flip through them. And so I shuffled them and then just opened them up and read the one. And it was just so beautiful. And it was about unconditional love. And it was how it was so lovely. And, and connecting within. And I think that's what also reminded me of like how I've always known that, and my aunts knew that, and my grandmother knew that, and people in my line knew that. Were at one point was my family very spiritual? Was my family very in tune and connected and didn't go to outside sources? And somewhere along the line, it continued to deviate. Did it deviate? Like, was my grandmother immersed in that? And then she married my grandfather, who was 100% Italian, so also Catholic. right? And yet my grandmother was with her children the majority of the time, so she had the largest influence. And so they weren't necessarily steeped in that mentality. They had the duality and the understanding of both. And then again, when my father ended up marrying 100% Catholic, 100% Irish, ironically, my grandmother's 100% Irish as well, but not Catholic. I mean, she was Catholic, but she was more spiritual than Catholic. In other words, she didn't believe in, I explained all that to you already. And so, but interesting to me that my father married somebody who was very immersed in Catholicism and committed suicide, by the way. So, and had her brother committed suicide as well. I mean, do you see how this, of course, I'm also going to have, without even consciously being aware of it, hearing it in a straight line like this, it's like, well, of course, who would like Catholicism when this is the story, this is the family history, this is the consequences, right? It's like when you connect those dots or fill it in, it's just the natural connection of dots. May not be truth, but it's like, oh, well, my goodness. And you hear stories like that all over the place. Oh, what happened there? Sorry. Looking at a crack on my marble top. Not good. Not good. That's symbolizing something. Anyway, it did have me wonder, it's like, at what point do we deviate from our roots, from our foundation? Like, at what point in history, right? Because at one point, everybody had an understanding, but then there was that one rebellious child, or that one child who saw things through a different lens or a different experience and deviated off and didn't know the consequences of that deviation, right? And that talks about that in the Bible. It's like, if you don't listen, go ahead, go praise false idols, go do whatever the hell you want. I'll throw you out in the fucking desert. You burn to a crisp and you're not welcome back until you get it together. And it's the same idea. It's like, oh, that's what happened. We got fucked. We got tossed aside as a family line. Like, the line gets pushed aside. You didn't want to follow tradition. You didn't want to understand the wisdom, right? You thought the wisdom was incorrect. You thought it was silly. You thought it was whatever. And then you fucked the line for generations to come because of that one kid. And which is interesting they're having me say it like this, only because I've had so many, I think, family members. Again, I didn't know them or see their faces, so it's like hard to always decipher that, but kept apologizing, like, I'm so sorry. Almost like it was the deviation point that now recognizes the fuck up and how it affected all of us down, and that somebody has to then, it's almost like, be the fuck up again to get you back in line, to get the generational line, back into the fold. They have to then go through the hell of eating up all the karmic debt and being the one who now appears to be the fuck up. Meanwhile, they're the ones pulling us back into the line. Does that make sense to people? I hope so. And so, man, yeah, they're showing me now, like, because so many have come through to apologize to me, as if they were putting me through it, but I guess essentially they were. I know, what was the example you just gave? Yeah, forgive me for this, but it's just a simple example. I think most people know. Like, people get so mad with like actors that all of a sudden will be very political and talk on political topics, and then the actors are like, oh, I can't be a human with an opinion. I can't discuss how I feel or my opinion. Like, and people are like, no, get back in fucking line. You're the show monkey, so shut the fuck up and just sing and dance. And so it's this big debate, and you can see how that's really offensive to another human. And yet what is trying to be pointed out, and never in a correct or nice way, never done correctly, is the fact that people who have a large influence over a large population and yet have no idea themselves on what's truly going on behind the scenes can have a ripple effect in a very negative way. And they, again, think they're helping, or they think their ego is spouting the right rhetoric because it's what they believe is the popular opinion and it'll win more favor. So they're working from their ego. Yet they don't really know that it's like, I don't know, say there's like a kidnapping going on and you have to not talk about the kidnapping in a specific way or reveal certain things. Otherwise, it can jeopardize the life of the kidnapped. And yet they go up there and speak about it because they think it's wrong and they want to shout it from the rooftops. And they have such a big influence that it reaches a lot of ears. And sure enough, a lot of people do certain things. And then the kidnapper gets killed, or the kidnapped gets killed because the ego wanted to, well, I'm allowed to talk about it. I know what I'm talking. No, you don't fucking know what you're talking about. You don't know what's happening behind the scenes. You know the picture that's being painted for the public, just like everybody else. And you think you know. So you think you should talk about it because you think you have the right, because you think you're so special. And this is what we do. We fuck shit up because we're coming from our ego. But then we also get the mixed message, right? We get the mixed message. If you know better, do better. Speak up. But that's the difference. Do you know when you're speaking from your heart, and do you know when you're speaking from your ego? Do you know the difference? Most people don't, because we're on such autopilot and we're looking to get outside ourselves so often that we're often coming from our ego. We want validation. We want approval. We want likes. We want to be favored. We want to, whatever it is, whatever our get is, that's our intention. That's our motivation for movement. And people aren't acknowledging it, taking ownership for it, or seeing it. They can't see that truth within themselves because it's ugly. It's a wound, right? That they do not want to address. They do not want to see. They do not want to heal because it's painful and difficult and hard. But it's easier to just ignore it. But eventually, you can no longer ignore it. Eventually, it'll eat you alive. It'll take over. And, and that's a choice. We see that. You see that happen all the time, where the ego takes over and runs the show. And that's what's in charge. And the soul within, if it's still there, is oblivious, right? Like they're just dead asleep. And to fight back from that after a certain point does become, I guess everybody has a tipping point or a breaking point, Anyway, there was a lot in this one, and you can hear I'm starting to ramble, and I could sit here and ramble with you all day long.
Thanks so much for tuning in and listening. You can now purchase an audio journey with me using the link below.